We are live.
Yay! I am old new dude, and he is.
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son. And this is Dance 67, the Kingbreaker. And you want to give your standard spoilers and stuff?
Oh yeah, all fair use laws are in effect, and spoilers ahead. If you
Right.
haven't read the chapter, don't watch the video.
This is Barristan's coup. That's the summary.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, and happy Friday, says Tress.
Yes, definitely.
Uh, so,
And like I was saying, for theory lore, finding stuff that continues on to support this theory or that. Hey, 95.
this is the Ashara Dane and Stark chapter. So I mean, this is when
Yeah,
was the last time we heard Ashara Dane mentioned? It's been a
a hot
minute.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, she's definitely discussed in Storm with Ned, the Ned that's alive in Storm, not the Ned that's alive in the beginning of the strip series,
Right.
and Ned Dane, and
Yeah, well, I think there's some hidden finger stuff, definitely around that subject when it comes to Selmy for sure.
so that's an
Um,
interesting question. Um, if we
the
search for Ashara just in general, what are all the Ashara Dane references? Of course, you got Cat 2. We knew that. We definitely, that's one you should not mark private because we were going to bed shortly, but I'll hang out for a few. Hope you both are doing well. Yeah, doing pretty well. Thank you. And good to have you here.
well, you got to remember
Um,
too, Branch chapters. She's not called a Chardane. She's called the maid with the.
laughing purple eyes. Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
they mentioned her name.
that's a good point. Yeah, she doesn't talk to anybody about their name, does she?
No, she gives
In that
everybody a code
story.
name.
Of course, so in the first book, you've got Cat 2 and you've got Eddard 12, this is the Eddard 12 parallel chapter. So that's pretty important. Happy Friday. Oh, yeah.
And
Interesting that Ashara Dane comes up in the parallel chapter to Eddard 12, the one Eddard chapter with the Ashara Dane. Huh.
mhm.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm glad I'm doing this for a second here. Okay. And then we mentioned that, Kat thinks about her again in Clash. And both times she's thinking about her in the context of John's mother. And in both times she's associating John's mother with the shadow or the shadowy secret, which is part of why I eventually came around. I was being silly and thinking that Quaithe was Rayella, which is funny because that's now Radio Westeros recently put out their Quaithe is Rayella video, but they put out their the Night of the Laughing Tree isn't confirmed to be Lyanna, but I, along with most, think she is. Yeah. And there's some interesting speculation as to why Ned might be a good choice for it, or Brandon, or even one fairly well argued that's Roose. Anyway,
I haven't heard that one.
I brought it up when I'm pretty sure if the Night of the Laughing Tree isn't Lyanna, who could it be? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So of course Howland is the obvious answer. It doesn't make much sense considering that the whole point is that he can't he doesn't have the strength to hold a lance, or something along those lines, or somehow how he doesn't joust or doesn't hold a lance or something like that.
Well, I mean, for that argument there's two things. One, there's not a lot of jousting in the neck because it's swamps. Where would he learn the skills? And two,
Yeah,
he was getting beat up by three squires. My thing on the three squires is I think that he does know how to
did let
fight,
them. Yeah, they
but
did
he
let
let
them beat him
them
up.
get the in with the Starks.
Yeah, it could be. So anyway, then Arya 8 in Storm is the famous Ned Dane chapter.
Mm.
And the Kingbreaker. That's it. That's when her name is mentioned. We said the Night of the Laughing Tree is the Haunted Purple Eyes, or Laughing Purple Eyes. Haunted Purple Eyes are what Cat and Barristan call them, right?
Okay.
So anyway, all right. With that, let's get back to it. So We discussed the actual motivation
Chapter is
for.
all about the chapter is all about the Barristan Selsby and was it Resnack, whatever his name is.
No, not Resnack. Skahaz.
Skahaz,
It's
yeah, that's what
Skahaz. I mean, Resnack is mentioned quite a bit, but Skahaz is the um. So yeah. So basically, Barristan is put up to doing Ned's coup by, I would say, by Littlefinger, the Littlefinger Marine. I would say Howland, Brandon, right? Benjen,
Mhm.
okay. Howland can fight. Brandon doesn't fit the description. Benjen just feels off and doesn't have a great motive. I've heard Ned. I've heard Ned as well as Brandon, but yeah, because it's the
Brandon
Starks that are helping
was
him.
not mid sized. Brandon was a good sized guy. I
Big,
mean,
yeah, and the Night Infantry seems to be shorter, which is part of why people think that it could be.
So,
Which is part of why Ned
Ned,
is actually perhaps the most logical choice,
right?
as being
But
probably
Brandon
more capable
is
than Benjen, but still
right.
short.
Yeah, yeah. I think Brandon is knight size, 6'2" ish type person. The broad shoulders, the warrior type male, and then you have the slender Ned.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of Kat and her arguments with Jamie, where Jamie tells her twice that there are no men like me, and then immediately argues that Brandon was a man like him. And then when he
Yeah,
sees Loras, he's me.
yeah. Well, I think Brandon might be a cross between Jamie and Robert. Then 'Cause I think he's got a whole lot of Robert in him, especially with his.
I just think it's hilarious. It's hilarious that they immediately take the opposite sides of the argument right after the whole.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, um, so anyway, we discussed the actual motivation for which hostages they should be trying to return if they want peace, and how
Mhm,
actually what they're doing made perfect sense and was very logical. But Scott
mhm.
has us an alternative interpretation, which convinces Bears.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what does he call him? Oh crap, what is it? Uh, he smells too sweet and feels too foul. George is
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
make.
I'll get there.
Okay,
That's actually later. Yeah, I got that one. I got that one down too.
very
Yeah, I may
first
have
paragraph.
even included the quote on that one just because it was so important. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to talk about that, that's fine. Yeah, but I mean, Barristan has basically told us that he knows the perfumed seneschal, that Danny confides in him, which makes sense, and and he has used the term perfumed seneschal to refer to him. We do know the Stark siblings did practice jousting. See John and Rob, absolutely. I love that Jamie line. There are no men like me, only me. It's so good. Yes, it is. You would think exactly that at the time in his life. Yes, it is. It's just hilarious that he actually doesn't believe it. That he immediately, after the second time, because he says it twice to Kat, I told you there are no men like me. And then he immediately argues that Brandon was a man like him,
Now, have you
which I
heard?
just think is hilarious.
Yeah. Now, on the perfumed seneschal, have you heard the theory that it's actually meant to be the ship that Tyrion and
Absolutely.
Makoro, the
Absolutely. And we've
fragrant
talked about that. We
Yeah,
talked
did
about
we?
that at the time because he goes on and on about. I mean, he goes on and on to explain that that's basically that it actually means more fragrant than stinky.
Yeah,
Right, and
but
and
Tyrion's gonna stick with stinky because it throws
right,
us off.
and a steward is basically a seneschal, and so he calls it the stinky steward, but really
Yeah.
means basically a perfume seneschal. Now the problem with that is that in the warning,
Mhm,
she has been warned of Tyrion as a separate part of that warning.
mhm.
So unless that means Jorah or
Makoro.
Penny or Makuro, okay, or Makuro,
She
yeah,
gets more
okay,
later about Dark Flame. When she's told the Kraken, you got Dark Flame, you got the Lion, the Griffin, the Sun's Son, and the Perfume Seneschal. I think is all in that one same thing, isn't it? So that would mean it would be a person because she's already warning them about.
how do you spell
No,
seneschal?
no. When she gives that, isn't is Tyrion still with the
Mm.
on the Shy Maid, or is he already left?
Oh wow, when you type perfumed seneschal in the first hit is actually the captain of guards. That's interesting. But the perfume is about Maester Miles and the seneschals for Casso. So it's interesting that they used both words together like that. Glass canvas of brain. Soon comes the pale mare, and after her the others. Kraken and Dark Flame. See, so she's always said the lion. Dark Flame is right next to lion. So Penny is really Penny or Jorah, and she already knows to be aware of Jorah. So Penny would be the one that she's being told to beware of then, if that's the case. Which maybe.
Well, I mean, when it comes to Jorah, though, I mean, stop and think. He's just got his ass beat to death by the slavers. He's got the mark on his cheek, or not inside his head. Could her casting him out, and then all the sorrows that he feels after that, make him the jilted lover? I mean, I don't know.
I don't see it, but maybe. Anyway, I just thought I'd pull it up just because. Anyway, we should probably get going.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, my point was Skahaz has his alternative interpretation of why they picked the people they did and so forth, and it's very convincing to Barristan. He said, "I love you guys. Just stopping to say hi." Well, thank you, Girl Nettles. We love you too. Girl Nettles, as we mentioned, is we did. We talked about you on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about mostly we were talking about Guy and his new Lemongate video. But
then we were talking about how the show did you wrong and did away with your character and made it somebody else. And
we did talk about that, and we talked about your reaction to that and so forth. But anyway, were your ears burning? Where were we here? So Barristan uses the same words that Tywin used to Duskendale when he had one day to rescue Aerys. I'm the real Nettles. Well, good point.
She is the Nettles now.
If you don't know Girl Nettles channel, then you're supposed to know Girl Nettles channel before you know us.
For sure. Sammy
agrees. Anyway, I don't know if you heard him bark, but he did. Almost on cue. Barristan, the hour of the wolf, the blackest part of night, when all the world's asleep. Okay, so Skahaz wants to attack. Barristan refuses. Your way is dishonorable. Your way is stupid. So Dany was closer to the dishonorable way than the stupid way, but she was always misleading in a way that her word was technically true, which Toodles might approve of Dany's way.
Yeah.
It was always a half truth and sort of true in a certain way of looking at it. And Barristan was like questioning whether it was dishonorable, and she's like, "No, I told them this. That was accurate." This sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Now there's one line here that is really interesting foreshadowing, right? Which is, "We will rue your old man's honor before this game is done." I think that's an interesting line.
Yeah.
Barristan dismisses the pit fighters as bad guards, which kind of reminds me of people underestimating Bronn in multiple times in the story. But Barristan actually does understand their strengths and weaknesses and is 100% accurate in his assessment.
Right. Yeah, he's done a really good assessment of their strengths and their weaknesses. It's really thought out.
Sleep well, and thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it, there, Ranger 95. Yeah. Tell me he's not when it comes to combat.
No, he's actually accurate in that. He may be inaccurate in buying into these arguments, much as Ned is believing Baelish, and sometimes when he shouldn't, trusting in Baelish more than he should. But
well, you got Ned believing in Baelish, you got Tyrion believing in Varys, and now you got Selmy believing in Skahaz.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the parallel characters that you see in that. Absolutely. Barristan asks about Skahaz having plants among the Yonkishmen, and Skahaz says Reznak has more.
Yep.
And that's when we get the famous line, right? Or the line you were just saying: Reznak cannot be trusted. He smells too sweet and feels too foul.
Yeah.
So we already talked about that one.
Yeah. Well, I
Person
mean,
wants
that's
to
just
say,
George throwing a wrench into the gears on trying to put another perfume
yeah,
seneschal out there for us to potentially think.
and of course my long shot theory, because there's no perfume evidence whatsoever at this point, is that
Right.
the seneschal is actually a position that rotates among the archmaesters, and so there's a decent chance that Marwyn was the seneschal at the time of the warning, and not a great chance, but this is George, and that could be the whole point, right? So he could
Oh
certainly
yeah.
make it be true that was the case. And in fact, when Sam goes to see the seneschal, he is taken to Marwyn.
But it's correct. I
That's
like that.
exactly who he was there to see, right? He was there to see the seneschal, and he was taken to Marwyn. And the seneschal is the title, right? That is the title of who he was sent to see, and
Right.
he was taken to Marwyn. Now, and then people will list the people coming to Danny, and they'll say, "Isn't it weird that Marwyn isn't in the list?" And I'm like, "But isn't he? But is he not in the list? Right? We haven't seen him perfumed yet, but who says he won't be
Well, I mean,
perfumed when he goes to see Danny?"
well, you stop and think about it. I mean, does perfume mean just sweet smelling, or can be different flavors of scent as far as
It'll be.
perfume?
We will definitely be keeping our eyes on whether Marwyn is perfumed going forward. That's all I'm saying. He's the long
asking,
shot, but
yeah, I'm asking, can you be perfumed in
sure,
skunk? I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the
sure.
a scent. I mean, it's not that it smells like flowers all the time. It could be smelling like something else. That's.
But I do think it's funny when I hear somebody say that. But it's strange that she doesn't warn him about. And meanwhile, they're
Well, I mean,
wondering who the perfume seneschal is, and I'm like,
that Robert smells like perfume when he was younger. His perfume was sweat and leather and I can't remember the exact quote, but so when Robert was
I'm not going to go
16,
searching for that because we've already gone way off. I do want to get through the chapter today. Anyway,
we'll try.
No, I'm going to try and I still want to keep us a little bit more on track.
Very good.
So Barristan wants to save his hostages. Kaha suggests they would be better off with Dario dead. Barristan immediately thinks of Rhaegar and Lyanna, which is interesting. So he's associating Danny with Rhaegar and Lyanna. So strange how many times Lyanna is brought up with Daenerys, and how rarely it's brought up with Jon Snow. Anyway,
exactly. Well, I mean, there's almost a half a chapter talking about the better for Daenerys and for Westeros. Daenerys Targaryen loved her captain, but that was the girl in her, not the queen. Prince Rhaegar loved his lady Lyanna, and thousands died for it. Daemon Blackfyre loved.
Yeah. I'll go through some of those, but I want to focus just a little bit more on just if you don't mind, a little more on the R+L Lemongate stuff. So clearly, Danny's. I wrote this in my notes as sarcasm. Clearly, Danny's boot rose represents Jon Snow in the Frostfangs, and the color blue associated with Aegon's dead Tyroshi mother and Danny's Tyroshi accent are just irrelevant coincidences.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Anyway, Barristan also claims that Daemon Blackfyre's love for the Martells, Daenerys Targaryen, caused the Blackfyre rebellions, which doesn't seem likely based on the history and when they got married and had children. And full credit to all the people who've already pointed that out. Like, I didn't go through the history and notice that. I don't know if it was History Westeros or who, but I know people have talked about that. No, it doesn't really make any sense. He also says it's Bittersteel and Bloodraven both love and share a sea star with the Blackfyre rebellions. So make up your mind with who's to blame for this. And then, although that's the second and third and so forth, I suppose. But then he explains why he blames Prince Duncan the Small and Jenny of Oldstones for Summerhall, which okay, I guess he does kind of explain it. So I guess. And then I like the line, her love for Dario is poison, a slower poison than the locusts, but in the end is deadly, because it reminds me of Sansa and Tyrion. Sorry, two separate things. Sansa's quote from her 4th chapter, I see flowering hasn't made you any brighter, said Cersei. Sansa, me to share a bit of womanly wisdom with you on this very special day. Love is poison, a sweet poison, yes, but it will kill you all the same. And then Tyrion's 9th in this book Love is madness and lust is poison. Anyway, um, what madness is this? Oh, sorry. in, in discussing the cupbearers as hostages, Barristan brings up Tywin killing Rhaegar's children and wondering about Robert's reaction. And I do like
Oh,
his line, if I had seen him smile over the red ruins of Rhaegar's children, no army in this earth could have stopped me from killing him.
and that is
And
why he wasn't there.
but this loyalty to Rhaegar and his children is sometimes suggested as evidence that Barristan will choose Aegon over Dany, as is the comparison with the Kingmaker, Sir Crispy. I do like that line from the
I
show.
think that, I mean, him not seeing Robert's reaction to the children tells me that Robert smiled. And Hidden
Oh, we know
Fingers,
because Ned's reaction. We know Ned's reaction. He says, I see no children, only dragon spawn or something like that. Like we see that with Ned, that he remembers what the reaction was.
no,
And
that's
he is,
why Barristan was wounded so bad that he couldn't be there. Because you remember, Selmy and Robert were wounded at the Trident, but only Robert is there, which means Selmy was hurt worse, which means somebody did not want him there. If Selmy saw Robert, Selmy would have killed Robert, and that would have been the things had to happen in a certain way. They're playing the game, and
speaking of Robert and Ned and their falling out over this, the twice apparently. We get this great line, which is very similar to Pycelle when he says it would be kinder to kill Dany. You kill men for the wrongs they have done, not the wrongs that they may do someday. Right. So it's a great line. We've heard this argument because we heard Pycelle claiming it would be kinder to kill Dany. And so one of the central moral arguments in A Game of Thrones is Ned and Robert discussing, arguing over Pycelle's logic here, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about Dany. So that line is kind of about Dany, and it's. I used to say that one of the problems with Game of Thrones is that they made Robert be correct and Ned be wrong here. On the other hand, I could see George totally liking to do that because then it makes more argument, more discussion, and George could absolutely do that. He could absolutely be simultaneously believe that ends don't justify means, and that sometimes events work out such that the person who tried to do ends justifying the means was, quote, right about what those ends would look like. Right. It doesn't mean that he's endorsing the means, but you could see him, because it creates more moral complexity and discussion. You could see George going that way, even as I complained that that's the wrong lesson for the story.
Yeah.
Barristan thinks that he has no choice. He could find no honor in this, right? So I like his find no honor in this line because it's very relevant to some of the discussions he's about to have.
Does this put him in the same category, sort of, maybe category adjacent to Jaime?
Oh yeah, the fact that he wanted to kill Robert, right? He would have killed him. He would have killed the king.
I'm talking about Hisdar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, taking Hisdar hostage is it's not the same thing, but it I mean, they're adjacent.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. And that's part of the reason why the two characters that most resemble Sir Crispy, the Kingmaker, are Barristan and Jaime. In terms of, yes, I'm always going to call him Sir Crispy because I like that.
I like that now too.
It'd be really funny if they actually have him get killed by a dragon fire, which he kind of dies rather unceremoniously by archers in the book. But anyway, sorry, spoilers, but we did say spoilers anyway. And that does, like I said, I don't know what will happen in the TV show because they're so far from the source material in many ways.
It's the butterfly effect.
Barristan thinks that he has 6 knights ready out of 27, and that he might have 6 more in a few years. And he kind of implies that the rest will never make it.
Also, before that, when he's talking about what he did that day, he said, elsewhere he knew King Hisdar was consulting with Resnek Mo Resnek The rest of those names, because I ain't even going to try to pronounce them, and other Marinese advisors deciding how best to respond to the Yonkai's demand, but Barris and Selmy was no longer part of such councils. Well, we have the other guy that's trying to get Selmy to do this, saying one thing, but if Selmy was, me and these names, I swear. Selmy, if he had been part of these council sessions, would he have seen the side of Hisdar that would have made him go, "Oh, wait a minute, I might want to hold back here a second because they're planning."
Maybe. Given that Hisdar is supposed to represent the path to peace. Yeah, maybe. See Adam Feldman and our coverage of his analysis. Anyway, first I think I said that Tumco Low is the best natural swordsman since Jamie. Lark the Lash is second. The Red Lamb is third, and there's 3 Gascari brothers sold into slavery. And I've said that the Red Lamb reminds me of Pod, so he's my pick to parallel Pod going forward. And then he gives them this line that's almost like this kind of funny, considering he's talking about he's about to do something that he can find no honor in. He says, "It is better to die with honor than to live without it." It's like, okay, says the guy who can't figure out how what he's doing has any honor in it whatsoever. Anyway, so when Ned is preparing to meet Cersei and beginning to prepare his coup, Tom starts to ask, and Ned says, "Best not."
Right.
Okay. And we see that exact same line here when Barristan talks to Missandei. So, he's about to meet with Cersei. He says, "Best not." Barristan's about to meet with Hisdar. He says, "Best not." Anyway.
And then we get to
think about the parallels there, though. Think about the parallels. His partner in his coup has falsely convinced him that the person he's about to meet was the poisoner. Right? He avoids killing. They both avoid killing them, but try to execute a coup against them. Right. So maybe House Paul is the poisoner because part of the parallel is the poisoning, and the poisoning should be for a completely different reason than what we believe. Lysa did not want Sweet Robin fostered with Stannis. That was the actual poisoning motive, right?
Right.
And Littlefinger then took advantage of that to orchestrate Ned and the reader believing the poisoning is about treason against the crown. And the shave pate is Littlefinger, and notice that the 2 characters who are most often given a nickname and used back and forth between their name and their nickname are Littlefinger. I mean, yes, you got the Spider for Varys, and I'm not saying it's the only one, and you've got the Seneschal for Rosnack. I'm not saying it's the only one, but they're probably the most commonly interchanged of name versus nickname is Shave Pate Skahaz versus Littlefinger and Baelish, right? So anyway, it's a very strong parallel, and so the concept here is that this is essentially Ned and the Godswood, the Ned and the Godswood moment, is what this chapter is essentially, right? And as we mentioned, this is one of the few chapters where Shara Dane's name will be mentioned.
Yeah, she's mentioned again right after.
Speaking of which, it's right here. Yeah, right. The memory was still bitter. So I've always thought that Barristan's bitterness about Harrenhal in this chapter was about Lyanna, but I think there's more to it. So one alternative interpretation, which I've never really had before, but which, as I was reading this, I was thinking about the parallels and so forth. Barristan seems to think about Rhaegar and to imply that he was executing a similar coup with Arthur Dayne and Oswell Went, and that Barristan kind of resents not being part of it.
Yeah. I mean, he said, like, what does he say?
It starts off the memory was bitter, and then immediately
Rhaegar, the Prince of Dragonstone, had never trusted him as he had trusted Arthur Dayne. I mean, I think he does resent that.
Yeah, Arthur and Oswell were the ones who were executing that coup and attempted coup at Harrenhal. Hello, says Deck of Cards. Good to have you here, Deck of Cards. And so it's really interesting that Barristan seems to resent that, right? And yes, I'm not saying that he isn't bitter, that he didn't, if I'd been at a better night, if I'd unhorsed the prince in that last tilt, because I unhorsed so many others, It would have been for me to choose the Queen of Love and Beauty. Like, absolutely, he regrets that. This is he's going against a guy who has broken 12 lances against Arthur Dane. He's essentially tied with the greatest knight ever. He is not Damon II Blackfire. He is not the Fiddler. He is the equal of Arthur Dane. We know this because he broke 12 lances against Arthur Dane. That's not you don't. There's no way to rig that. I'm sorry. This is not about rigging jousts. And I hate that people think that Barristan here is complaining that he shouldn't have gone along with rigging when we just saw that he wasn't trusted. Like,
yeah,
his whole point was he wasn't trusted at Harrenhal. Not anyway.
yeah. I mean,
the point
Rhaegar
is,
was no slouch by far. I mean,
he's the equal to the greatest knight of all
Dane,
time.
Yeah, exactly. The advantages that Arthur Dane has with or had or will have, however you want to look at it, with Dawn, zero out when he's on horseback and a lance. It's just.
But he's still the greatest knight that Ned has ever seen, going against Rhaegar, who was kind of late to even start studying his martial stuff. Like, he is really, really good. Rhaegar is really, really good, and it's not that surprising that he could defeat. Part of the point of Barristan talking about how anyone could beat anyone, when he's talking about Jorah, and he's casting a sly look at Jorah and saying, for example, if you're fighting for a specific woman, you can be inspired to perform better. Like, that's part of the point of that. Is Rhaegar, who was the equal to Arthur Dane, was fighting inspired for a woman. Like, because he also was motivated to name the Queen of Love and Beauty, just as Barristan was. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I get kind of passionate about that when people,
I
think, misinterpret that. I do not like their interpretation. Not that there aren't lots of interpretations, and multiple interpretations can be valid. I just don't like that one. Anyway.
Are you getting to the Dany's eyes here?
He had only to close his eyes to see her, with her long dark hair tumbling about her shoulders and those haunting purple eyes. And that's, I believe, haunting purple eyes is the same words that we saw in the first Ashara Dane reference.
Right.
The first chapter, which is where you and I started doing this stuff. Anyway,
Daenerys had.
No, the laughing purple eyes is with Bran and Mira.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Daenerys has the same eyes. Sometimes when the queen looked at him, he felt as if he were looking at Ashara's daughter. But Ashara's daughter had been stillborn, and his fair lady had thrown herself from a tower soon after, mad with grief for the child she had lost, and perhaps for the man who had dishonored her at Harrenhal as well. And of course he says, if I had unhorsed Rhaegar and crowned Ashara Queen of Love and Beauty, might she have looked to me instead of Stark?
Yep.
He would never know, but of all his failures, none haunted Barristan Selmy so much as that. Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime that there's fiddling going on, I think there were two players at the tourney at Harrenhal. One is messing with Selmy to try to get him to win so he can name Ashara Dane. And the other one is Rhaegar fiddling with Rhaegar. And maybe Dawn prevents Arthur Dane from being that type of player or piece for the people playing the game. So you got competing people that are trying to win the tourney so they can name different people the Queen of Love and Beauty, and Rhaegar was the better.
One of the things that I find really interesting in this one, as we've mentioned, is that you've mentioned that Barristan and Jaime are parallel in this chapter, along with Ned, and we've mentioned. But anyway, Barristan wears his white cloak to take out his king, while Jaime is very specific, even though nobody talks about it, that he specifically did not want to wear any of his white when he took out his king.
Gold, but he had his white cloak on.
Really? I thought he said something specifically about nobody talks about that.
Yeah, no, he wore his gold armor, but he messed up and had the white cloak on. Check me on that. My memory sucks, but I'm sure.
We may have to look into that one, but
okay.
All right. Last of all, he took down his.
Danny's eyes, him seeing Ashara's daughter. I've said it before. There's a lot of times I think George uses the unreliable narrator, and people are putting their memory or their when we've seen where people remember wrong, they're putting their internal feelings about something onto the person they're looking at. I think we see it with John Con and Fagon. We're seeing it here with Selmy and Danny. I mean, it is you're like Cersei and
It's
Arya
possible.
Waters. They're seeing what they want to see.
Maybe. I kind of think they're important clues that are telling us important information. But
I don't trust George at all to lay it out straight. So you have to try to look for multiple meanings for the same sentence.
have I ever mentioned how Tywin claims that Jaime would never take off his helm? But one of my favorite, perhaps my very favorite symbolism in the story is when Jaime doesn't wear his helm in battle. Well, anyway, see Trips Dragons episode 5. But anyway, Barristan doesn't wear his helm because he wants to see better, and the dragon's wings might catch a sword or axe. I'm not sure that last part would be such a bad thing, but whatever.
Well, I mean, they went from flat top. Flat top's usually for jousting. The roll without anything is to where they get a glancing blow off.
Yeah, you don't want your head to get stuck when. So that's what he's saying. Yeah.
So having the what is hold on a second. What does Deadpool call Wolverine's was it like blowjob handles or something? I can't remember, but I mean you don't want them on your helmet.
Barristan, we did that. Okay, the pyramid is 3 and 30 levels, which is kind of like Freemasons or Islamic prayer beads or the Age of Jesus. Like the 33 is like all over like lots of religions. But anyway,
I read that with no, I had no idea any of that.
It's like I said, it's lots of stuff. Anyway, he goes down 12 levels to meet the Shave Pate, but 12 means like lots of things to lots of people. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles of Jesus, 12 leaders after Muhammad, 12 hours, 12 months, 12 jurors, like 12 minor prophets in the anyway. We go on and on about 12. So 12 means too many things to mean much anything. Anyway, the most important thing to remember from this chapter is that the shape. I don't know how many times I've read this chapter before ever realizing this, and I've had people point it out, and I still kind of didn't get it. The most important thing to remember from this chapter is why it has to be before the next chapter, right? So the Shape Pate has replaced the guards, mainly with locusts, and he has changed the word to Grolio. This is like the most important thing for the next chapter. This is why this chapter has to come before the next chapter.
Oh, damn. That's like a lot.
I didn't get it either. I didn't get it.
You were halfway through and I was like, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, I know why.
This chapter has to come before the next chapter. Even though this chapter ends spoiling the next chapter, right? It spoils the next chapter completely. And yet it has to come before it. It has to.
How many times I've read these damn books? I never caught it.
Now there is a bull and a rat. There is a bull and a rat at the door, but they still know that Grolio is the word, right? So most of them are locusts. Pretty much everybody except the bull and the rat are locusts, and Grolio is the word, and that's important.
Now, does the locust helmets, the 6 locust helms or masks, could the Shave Pate be the poisoner?
Sure. Yeah, he could have done it deliberately. That's possible.
But why?
Yeah, he definitely wants war, and if any of them die from poison, it's probably going to disturb the peace. So it could be.
Yeah, but doesn't Shave Pate want Danny to stick around because he don't want it to go back to the way it used to be?
Yeah, but he does want war. He definitely wants war, and he does represent Baelish, who is the one that Shave Pate is Ned. Okay.
I've not heard that one.
That's interesting. But anyway, so yeah. Like I said, I can't. I don't think I think I've even heard people say that it didn't click. And this time I'm reading through that, I'm like, oh, This chapter, no wonder this chapter comes before, despite spoiling the next chapter, it has to come before it. Of course it has to. Anyway, yeah, that's the most important thing to remember going into the next chapter. So Histar's first assumption is that there's been word of Daenerys, which I find kind of interesting, because he thinks that's about the only thing that that Barristan would wake him for.
Right.
And Barristan thinks that Histar believes she's dead because he speaks of her in the past tense. Yeah, maybe. As Barristan expected, he blames Quentin. Yeah, he predicted that.
Mm-hmm.
Barristan asks why they stopped killing him. He wasn't one of them. Histar just shakes his head. We went through Adam Feldman's analysis. If you want the answer to these questions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you urged her grace to try the locust, but never tasted one yourself. And it's I ... Hot spices do not agree with me. I'm like, why the pause? And look where you live. It's like the dragon.
And he specifically compliments them. It's really weird because he does compliment them to her.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I'm not trying to be whatever.
No.
Oral. I mean, this is the culture in Marine. This is the food in Marine. You go to Dorne,
and he specifically compliments them.
Yeah,
he said, he's like, you should try those. They're great, basically, right? I don't remember exactly what word he uses.
It's like Prince Oberyn saying that. Oh no, I don't like dragon peppers. I mean, really?
Yeah, it is weird. It is kind of weird. Yeah.
I'm not buying. So there are things about Histar that do not add up for sure.
I agree,
but I mean, sometimes our characters are often wrong when they believe something.
And he's just out of bed, and George could just be being deliberately inconsistent with him because he's kind of out of sorts and stuff.
Yeah.
And we get the fight with Cross, which definitely has echoes of Quotho with Jorah and Mance Rayder with Jon, and the other with Waymar Royce. Those are the three that jump out at me anyway. So you've got, and you've got them, and in some ways they're kind of the opposite of Bronn in the Vale as well, right? That's kind of the opposite side of the coin. So you could see, given the underestimating by the underestimating by the knight, dismissing by the knight of the ability of the killer, the trained, experienced killer who he dismisses as being not good. We probably should throw Bronn in there as well. Yeah, but anyway, as with Jorah, the armor is a huge advantage. As with Mance, the winner knows exactly which blows to let the armor stop. And as with the other, the confidence and calm are completely justified. And again, as with Jorah and Quotho, the Auric gets stuck, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. Well, it gets stuck in his bone.
For Jorah, yeah. Whereas Barristan is so overwhelming here that there's no such thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, like the pit fighter was fast, blazing fast, as quick as any man Sir Barristan had ever fought. In those big hands, the Auroch became a whirling blur, a steel storm that seemed to cut at the old knight from three directions at once. Most of the cuts were aimed at his head. Skyrise, whatever his name is, was no fool. Without a helm, Selmy was most vulnerable above the neck. I mean, the dude's no slouch, that's for sure. But
yeah. And Barristan knew it. Like I said, he knew his strengths and weaknesses. He was given an accurate assessment, even though it's very similar to Bronn.
Well, you got to stop think. This guy's standing there going toe to toe with Selmy, where when Bronn does it, he's a trained killer, but he is also smarter.
He knows to wear him out.
He gets where the statue is. I mean, he's doing.
Yeah, the one who's wearing out here is Cross, not Barristan. That's for sure.
Yeah, but Cross is not as smart as Bronn is, as far as when it comes to.
Absolutely.
Bronn has fought people in armor before, and definitely knows the strengths and weaknesses to exploit.
Spare me, he begged. I do not want to die. Few do, yet all men die. Regardless, all men must die. I was a Kingsguard. What am I now? I'm a Kingsguard. I was a Kingsguard. What am I now? That's an interesting line because he's not the King Slayer. He's the King Arrester. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
So, Resnack Glenn wants his daughter to see the dragons are loose, and that's basically the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Um,
Only
Up
cowards
next,
dressed in iron. This coward is about to kill you, sir.
yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good too. You're right. There's a lot of good lines there. Up
That's a
next,
Clint Eastwood. Do you feel lucky, punk moment?
Dance 68, the Dragon Tamer. And then, which, as we said, it'd be very important that the guardsmen replaced with locusts with the word Grelio. And then Dance 70, the Queen's Hand. Dance 71, Daenerys 10, and Epilogue.
Yeah, they got a whole lot left.
So we're not done with Barristan. He's got the, it goes, Barristan Quentin, Barristan Danny. And then we're done. Epilogue.
Ugh. You gonna look up that quote thing with Jamie?
Yeah, we can try and find that. So, oh, I'm sorry. What was the quote again? What were we talking about? What was the quote?
Gold armor, but he had his white cloak.
Oh, yeah. White cloak, and he's just thinking that, right? So it's probably a Jamie. So we probably filtered a Jamie POVs.
Yeah. Gold armor, but white cloak probably be a good way to.
Why, Don, the white cloak, if you meant to betray it, all it stood for. It was that white cloak that soiled me. Here, yeah. The golden armor, not the white, but no one ever remembers that. Would that I had taken off that damn cloak as well. Okay. So you're right. Okay. But anyway, it is interesting that he specifically thinks it's important that he wasn't wearing white, while Barristan is completely donning all his white to do his cue.
Yep, from neck to the foot in white.
Clad in his golden armor, sword in hand.
I think it's actually appropriate that, well, I mean, well, not really, but I mean, that's how much that cloak meant to Jamie. And you see how much it means to Oakheart with his white cloak. He did it without thinking about it. He was like, I'm not wearing my white armor to do this, which meant there was some planning into it, but out of habit and probably.
Well, yeah, he was going through. He specifically went through and hunted down the alchemist before he goes to the Mad King. So yeah, he's taking his time.
One alchemist before the king, and then 2 days.
Oh, and then he hunts down the others.
After the fall, he finds the other two or something like that.
But yeah, he was definitely going after. Roser.
But I think he put the cloak on just out of habit. That it does mean more to him that he wants it.
And it's very clear that he's been commanded to execute his father, and he does. Sea Trip Stargate episode 5.
Yep. Without doubt. I need to look at the history of not history, but the lineage of the family tree for House Targaryen and for House Lannister. I made that comment. I'm like, Robert's rebellion was built on a lie because it wasn't Rhaegar stole or kidnapped Lyanna, did all those things to her. It was because they loved each other. Maybe. But probably. If that was built on a lie, then the War of the Five Kings, what if it was built on a lie, not the same kind of lie, but that the children actually were Robert's? Because of the Targaryen blood, it messes up the blending of the hair color type thing. I mean,
I don't know if you're going to find too many examples other than Lenore's mother.
Right. I mean, because Maggie the Frog doesn't say. It says, I think it's 16 in the books and 20 in the show or something like that. That the king will have 16 or 20, whatever the number is, and you will have 3. It doesn't say that you will have 3 that aren't the kings. It just lists the numbers different because the numbers are different. The king's going to have double digits, and you're only going to have 3.
Yeah, of course, um, people draw Lenore with Targaryen haters because it's deliberately implied without being stated that he has Targaryen hair, which isn't exactly necessarily true.
Now, who is this?
Rhaenyra's actual legitimate husband in the show.
Okay.
You think the Wildfire plot will go anywhere because Ferris is too confident not to know about it? They've still been finding them. The fact that they've still been finding them, I do think
they
is
found one by accident when Tyrion goes to fight.
Yeah, when Tyrion asks them to make what actually it's Cersei's idea to make all the wives, but Cersei and Tyrion are having them make all the wildfires. They definitely find.
Yeah, your volume's kind of.
Cersei is too stupid with the whole prophecy. She could just have outlawed the children like Kragan. Yeah, or she could have stopped before she got the 3 children, and then guaranteed that it wouldn't be true.
Yeah, I mean, she boasts that she knows and is able to stop pregnancies, whether she uses hands or whatever.
Why have the 3rd child? If there's a prophecy that you're going to have 3 children and you don't want to come true, just don't do it.
Yeah. And her prophecy, she's the one that helps make it to help it along.
But Varys was there when Aerys went the wildfire.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so yeah, I mean, he should certainly know that they've been uncovering more, that there was.
Which, I mean, it was just the 3 alchemists. None of the novices did it. They did it at night. So Varys probably knows where some of it is, but I don't know.
In theory. So, but what if he did? So what if he did? What if he nudged the alchemists to find the wildfire? Like, that's interesting. It's an interesting idea. It could be true. I could see that. It's an interesting interpretation.
Think about this, okay? If the 3 pyromancers, the alchemists that were in charge of this, are not the guy that's in charge of it during the Battle of Blackwater. They're completely different people. So those 3 alchemists are dead. Jaime kills them. He kills the hand and he kills the 2 other guys that were in charge of it. The guy that's here now, or at the Battle of Blackwater, getting it all prepared, is not. It was like nobody else.
But the idea that the reason they were able to find it was because maybe Varys posing as one of the alchemists, because who knows how many identities Varys has, and we've seen a lot of them, right? So he could be one of his many secret identities, could be as one of the alchemists. So he could have nudged them and said, because he may have been like, yeah, I don't want Stannis to win this.
Hey, what if his secret Blackfire blood helps him become a better alchemist than the alchemists are? Because he knows different kinds of magic.
Or Sarah Targaryen blood or whatever.
Yeah. Or Aryan Black Flame.
Or both, yeah. Or all of the above, right? He could be descendant of Sarah and the Bright Prince. And
as long as the
Blackfires.
As long as the male dragon blood gave birth to a female, if you believe the Preston Jacobs, the genetics of dragon riders and all that stuff, I believe it. So if you have any male dragon blood having birth to a daughter, then that daughter can give to either the son or the daughter that she has, and then
I owe you some information. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I owe you that whatever it was that Geese sent me. I haven't sent that to you. Sorry about that. Okay. I'll probably forget again. Someday I'll remember.
You just did. I'm just kidding.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about how much I like the combination of that with Preston's genetics with the Order of the Green Hand and their analysis of Fire and Blood. So their argument is that one of the biggest problems with Preston's theory is, how does Alicent wind up with all these Dragon Rider kids?
I
And
thought he covered that, kind of.
no, he kind of
Talking
mentions
about
that it's
how
kind of an
the
issue
high
that it would
towers.
imply that the High Towers have to have the gene. So, but
It doesn't necessarily. I mean, I don't know if it's him that covers it or somebody else. It doesn't necessarily mean that the high towers have dragon blood. It is the skin changing
right.
magic gene.
The magic gene. Yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
right. The magic gene, I guess, would be the better way to put it. And um, them being there.
And of course, Lyness then could be
Anybody.
descended of the same stock as Alicent. So that may be
Yeah.
why Lyness looks so Targaryen, right? She could be descended from Sarah Targaryen. So anyway, the point was that their theory is that if you look carefully, we're told that 50 years earlier the seed was planted for the rebellion or something like that, or half a hundred years or something like that. And anyway, it winds up being the year that basically nothing related to this happens except that Sarah Targaryen goes through Old Town, and they're like, "Oh, we've got this character who suspiciously looks exactly like Sarah Targaryen," which George loves to do when he's telling you that there's a secret parentage involved, right?
Right.
Because we've got the old king specifically saying that she looks, well, confusing her and seeming to think that she looks exactly like Sarah. And
Okay, now doing that for secret parishes, what does that do for Danny's eyes and Chardonnay?
sure, that's an argument. And that's Toodle's argument, right? So Toodle's argument is that it's not R plus L, it's R plus L plus A. That the children are literally, that the child or children born at the Tower of Joy are, or wherever, the Winterfell, whatever. Anyway, the Rhaegar and Lyanna children are actually children of three. That there's some sort of magic ritual that winds up involving three parents, and so that they're actually Danes and Starks and Targaryens. And I've come to like that more and more the more I thought about it, and the more I learned about George, and specifically the more I've learned about the legendary Irish High King, the Red Sky. Red Sky. There's an actual name. It's not I mean, we translate as the Red Sky, but I can't say it probably. Irish King. Red Sky Irish King. The Red Sky, the Irish King, Rectide, Rigbird, so-called Red King of the High Kings of Ireland. Okay, that might be him. The Red Sky in the legend. It does not explicitly name the Red Sky in the narrative. The term is often used in the Irish poetic tradition to evoke. Okay, so I really just want you to get me to the Wikipedia article. Maybe I should just say Red Sky Irish King Wikipedia. List of the High Kings of Ireland. Come on, give me the specific one. All right, well, we're almost out of time, so I'll try and look it up. But anyway, I'll try and look it up. But anyway, the point is that there's the 5-year gap before he comes to power is called the interregnum. George's most important time frame within his Thousand Worlds is called the interregnum. He wanted to have a 5-year gap before Dany comes to power, and so the idea that she's in fact the child of three, and he was supposedly born of three fathers, and had 1/3 of him look like one father, 1/3 of him look like another father, and 1/3 look like the third father.
The 5-year gap so Arya could become Batman. You got that wrong.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know who was watching. Somebody was criticizing the long night in season 8, and their biggest gripe was Batman Arya. I'm like, that's your biggest gripe for that episode? Really? But
anyway, all right. Well, I'll try and figure it out. But my biggest problem here is I keep typing this stuff into Bing because that happens to be the default. So I'm using Microsoft's browser, and I should probably switch over to Google and get more relevant answers, because every time I use Bing, it seems to give me worse answers. Yeah, and I click on that, and immediately the first thing that comes up is Riodorg, Red Sky, son of the three Findemna, triplet sons of. So anyway, the red striped or red sky. So he's got two names: the red striped and the red sky. Some of the three triple. Yeah, like I said, I type it into Google and instantly there's what I want. Well, go figure. Anyway,
love Google.
Anyway, yeah. Let's wrap
All
up.
right. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope you're still liking the new format on the chat reviews. I am, because it gives us a whole lot more time to talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite thing to do is to talk. So
it's a little more work to prep for, because I kind of, it's easier to like read through the chapter, just jot down a note while you're going through and stuff, and that's easier than trying to pick out which parts you want to talk about and highlight and stuff. But it's a tiny bit more work to prepare.
In the book as I go, I'll put down
better.
one and kind of line it up.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Tris.
All right.
I'm trying to call him Tris, which is a mixture of Christopher and Chris.
Yeah. As long as I don't call him Christopher here at the house, we're fine. But as always, I want to thank y'all for joining us. Have fun and safe weekend, and take care. Again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you back here Monday. So
sounds good.
Bye, Richard.
Dragon Tamer. Bye.
Bye.